My name is Dua. I'm the Training and Learning Program Manager here at Tempo. We have amazing experts that are presenting and answering your questions today. I'm going to start with our speaker, Jeremy, who's not only an expert in strategic portfolio management, but is also recognized as a true evangelist in the field. We've also got Christina, who's a senior solutions engineer specializing in everything SPM. So we look forward to all the questions you're going to throw at us. And with that, I will pass it on to you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Dua, and thank you, Christina, for answering the questions that come up as we demo this. All right, I'm going to do a fairly short presentation because I want to get into all of the cool stuff that we've done in 2023 to bring Tempo's product line together into an SPM solution. But I do want to give a little background on the definitions of strategic portfolio management as Tempo sees it, a little bit of overview of the SPM solution in slides, and then we'll get into the walkthrough. So first, the definition that we use here at Tempo when we're talking about strategic portfolio management is how an organization chooses to focus its priorities, people, and spend across their portfolio of products and services. So this involves a lot of people in the organization, and from the strategic leadership level, C-level, where they're talking about millions of dollars worth of spend quarter over quarter, to portfolio and project managers who are taking that strategy and turning it into actionable increments that are, again, potentially quarter over quarter. Teams and scrum masters and process coaches working to do the work and improve the process for delivering. And then teams that are responsible for maintaining the uptime of production systems and ensuring that deliveries go out and are sustainable in the market. So traditionally, Tempo's product lines have had several individual solutions for the various areas where an organization would want to do some work towards that strategic level planning. The core of Tempo's history has been around time tracking and capacity management and cost tracking with the planner, timesheets, and cost tracker group. But it wasn't enough to really claim a strategic level of capability for this larger solution we're bringing to market. So Tempo in 2022, 2023 added some additional products to their portfolio that are leaders in those categories. So for strategic planning, we added Roadmunk way to the left here. For portfolio planning, road mapping, and idea management. We purchased Structure for Jira for program and project management inside of Jira. And then we purchased way to the right custom charts for Jira to handle the dashboards and reporting and the kinds of visualizations organizations need in order to represent the efforts ongoing in the organization. So what we did in 2023 is took these individual solutions that each were successful in their own categories and brought them together into a larger solution by allowing the data to flow between these products in a way that I think it's really, this is where I really get excited about what we've done, because we've created a data flow through these products that guarantees 100% agreement across all of these products, from strategy down to reporting, through program and project management and time tracking and cost tracking and so forth. You're guaranteed to be working with the right data in all of these tools at all times, and it's real-time data. And this is something that isn't particularly easy to do inside of Jira with JQL and save filters and so forth to string all this together. So we've taken a different approach based on structure, and I'm really going to go in deep on that when we get into the demo. So now Tempo can start talking about its product portfolio as this larger set of capability that can be brought to bear on larger organizational problems. And when I talk about larger organizational problems, I'm really talking about multiple personas within the organization, multiple roles within the organization, working in their areas of expertise, like product leadership and executive leadership, program and project management, the teams doing the work on the strategies and so forth. All of these groups working in their distinct areas using tooling that's really specially designed for them. So Roadmunk is specially designed for leadership to be able to set a strategy, which is something that in Jira, with its more technical focus, isn't easy to do in. But by connecting that strategic level of capability that Roadmunk provides directly into Jira through structure, we can create this really seamless integration between these two products. And at the beginning of the year, when we said seamless as one of the things we were going for, the leadership, even inside of Tempo, was like, well, everybody says seamless. Well, the difference is that, and I think you're going to see this when I go to the demo, this really is seamless. And by seamless, I mean it doesn't require a lot of upfront configuration and knowledge about the internals of Jira to get this data, the strategic level data into Jira. And it doesn't require a lot of configuration to get meaningful data out of Jira, because structure already understands Jira very well. And we can leverage that understanding by going directly to the structure APIs and creating that truly seamless integration. From structure, we can then flow that information into our other products by using structure as a data source for these other products. So for example, if you want to create a report and dashboard off of your strategic portfolio that's been defined in Roadmunk, you create your structure for that, add your work to that structure, and then go to your custom charts, reports, and dashboards. And instead of saying, I've got a JQL or a saved filter that I want to use to subset my data, you can just plug your structure directly into reports and dashboards now. And it'll use that structure as the data source for all the reporting that you do. And we'll be getting into that, and I'll show you that as well in the walkthrough. So this brings this portfolio together into this sort of more abstract representation where we have this holistic capability that we can bring to bear on the organization on a very modular basis. So other keys to what we look to really preserve and achieve in 2023 was a very flexible approach to how organizations can use our products. And this is really to improve adoption of our products, because if you come in with a monolithic product that demands certain ways of working within the organization, you can get resistance to adoption of that product. And when you're working at the enterprise level, adoption is key to success for the program. We also have a modular approach, meaning I just showed you all of Tempo's products, very much standalone products in their own right. And you can pick, what I like to say, you can start with either your greatest need in the organization or your greatest comfort in the organization. So for example, if you have a rockstar project management group, you might just start with structure for Jira and just get the project management visualizations and data in place, and then maybe add a module once you get success onboarding a specific piece of the Tempo SPM. You don't need to bite off this whole SPM solution whole. You can start in the various areas where maybe you have the greatest need or the greatest chance of success, get some success, get some onboarding, get some experience with the Tempo product line, and then add as you go. So this SPM integration is new. We spent all of 2023 putting it together, but Tempo is not new. We're very well known in the Atlassian marketplace, one of the largest vendors there, and we're used by a tremendous amount of organizations across the world. 1 in 3 Fortune 500 companies use Tempo, one of Tempo products in one shape or form. And so while we have this new SPM, we come from a deep set of experiences working with very large scale enterprises on solving problems. All right, so that was a bit of a fire hose. I didn't want to spend a lot of time on it because I want to get into the demo, but I did want to provide a little bit of background on what we've been doing in 2023 and what our goals were. So we're going to get into the SPM demo. This is just a visual of how the information generally flows through the product lines, where we start on the left with road mapping, move that roadmap into structure to set the strategic direction in structure, move data from Jira into structure to fill out the planning, and then pipe that data to the other products in the Tempo portfolio to fill out the management capabilities of the SPM. And one last little thing I just want to put a point on is that we're really elevating structure to the Tempo SPM data platform. So when I'm in Roadmunk and we see this, and I do the integration and we see the setup structure integration, we're really moving the strategy into a data platform that then is going to be able to reshare that strategic information throughout the rest of Tempo's portfolio in a way that doesn't require any additional configuration or work from the user. We've elevated the ability to identify the data that you want to work with and move that data to other modules within the Tempo SPM to really a business decision rather than a technical need to know. So there's no JQL in any of this. All right, so this gets us to the demo. My demo screen here. All right, so I'm going to start in Roadmunk. This is probably the product that everyone has the least familiarity with on this call, I would imagine being largely Jira focused. So I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough of some of the high level capabilities here, and then we'll get into the road mapping and the SPM demo. So I'm in Roadmunk. I'm looking at a list of my roadmaps here. I can also view all the roadmaps people are working on in the company. In Roadmunk, you can share roadmaps with other people. So I have a bunch of roadmaps that are shared with me, and I can visualize them here. You can create teams with authorization levels and so forth, work on roadmaps within those teams to sort of create focus groups for doing specific strategic initiatives. You can bring several roadmaps together into portfolio groupings to make very large strategic visualizations in Roadmunk. So, for example, I've got one here, which each of these is an individual roadmap being brought together. Roadmunk is multi-instance. So if you're working on multiple instances of Jira Cloud and you've got activity going on in all of those instances, you can bring all of that activity and strategy together into a single portfolio inside of Roadmunk and track it on one screen. The other thing I want to highlight is Roadmunk as a company has a tremendous amount of experience working with businesses on strategic design. And they've encapsulated some of that knowledge as best practices in their road mapping templates. So if I want to get started with Roadmunk, I can, for example, just quickly look through here, find a roadmap. I want to do a business roadmap. I can get a look at this in the swim lane view. That looks pretty good. Let's see what this looks like by timeline view. Yeah, I kind of like this. So I can take this template and just use it. And I can either use it without the data or I can copy the data as well and then just sort of get started in this accelerated way to getting the content that I want to visualize into Roadmunk. Roadmunk also has idea management. I'm definitely not going to go deep on this because I could spend a lot of time on it. But here is where you capture ideas that are potentially going to become strategy. You group them and sort them by the various factors that you feel are important, and then potentially move these into roadmaps as part of a larger strategy. Roadmunk can also create public portals that are accessible to the world if you want to collect ideas from your users, flow them into this mechanism, rank them, and then potentially move them into your strategy. All right, but let's go back to my use case where I have a roadmap that I've been working on, and leadership has got to a point where they want to implement this roadmap. So in Roadmunk, I've been working with the product group and the management group and customers and so forth to put this plan together. And now we have something that we think we like. It's got our timelines across the top. We have it right now broken out by priority of the items, but in Roadmunk, it's very visual and you can slice and dice and represent this data based on any of the information that you're tracking about this roadmap. So for example, I can go in here and change the header. I can use a field that I've defined, and maybe I want to break this out by executive sponsor instead. So here we have the executive sponsors for this roadmap, and we can see the initiatives that they are personally interested in. I'm going to keep this on my priority visualization. And Roadmunk has two different ways of representing, two primary ways of representing roadmap. So here we have the timeline, which is going to have some sort of time designation across the top, and then some sort of category grouping on the left. But I can also look at things in a swim lane view. I can pull in the sub items and so forth. So here I have swim lane, which I've got currently broken out by the teams that we're going to be working on it and the priority. Again, any of the fields that you've defined in Roadmunk can be used to pivot and organize these tables. So let's go back to the executive timeline. And I've been talking about the fields in Roadmunk, so I'll show you those. So here is the table view of the data in the roadmap. We can see that I can create items and sub-items. I can add fields to the roadmap. These are custom fields. They have all the types you would expect, including selects and multi-selects and text and percentages and things like that, to sort of add the flavor that's necessary to communicate these high-level initiatives to the organization. So let's go back to the timeline. So great. So we've got our roadmap together, and we want to get this connected into our execution environment, which in this case is Jira. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the integrations option in Roadmunk, and I'm going to see that I have my setup structure integration here. But I just want to segue for a moment and talk about the direct to Jira integration, because a lot of the value in the structure integration is what you're not going to see. So let's go just take a quick look at what it takes to integrate with Jira if you're using Jira's direct APIs. So here I am selecting the instance that I want to connect to, the credentialing, a little bit of that. So in any product that's integrating with Jira in the market is going to eventually show you this dialogue. And what it's going to ask you is, what project in Jira do you want to integrate with? And it's a bit of a strange question, because from me, maybe I'm not a technical user. It looks like I want maybe all these projects, or maybe I don't know which project. So already I'm being asked about internal configurations inside of Jira. But in this case, if you're going directly to Jira's the Jira system with strategic level information, you generally set up a project inside of Jira to receive that strategic information, like a roadmap project or something of that nature. So let's say that that's the process at this organization. I still need to answer, like, well, what issue types, what statuses are we concerned about? It's just a lot of really technical questions that require onboarding. And additionally, once I set this integration up, Jira is a dynamic environment, and it's possible over time that things will change. Statuses could change, workflows could change for teams, ticket types could be added, and so forth. And an integration of this style could silently fail. So it's not great, but it's generally what the industry has had available, and so we've made do. However, because we have structure, another option was available to us. So rather than going to Jira's integration APIs, we've developed integration APIs for structure, and we go straight to structure. And I think you're going to like what you see here. So I want to get this data into Jira. Rather than using the direct to Jira integration, I'm instead going to use the direct to structure integration. I get to select which instance again. So again, Roadmunk is multi-instance. It's common now for organizations to have multiple cloud instances. So this is a way to bring all of that activity together into one place. So here I'll use that instance. We do ask if you want it to be public or private. In case you have a roadmap you don't want to share broadly, you would just set it to private and then elevate the privileges as needed once inside of Jira. But generally, probably public is what you're going to want. So we can just click through that. And that's it. That's all we need in order to get this data into Jira. So let's go. And Roadmunk is going to kick us over to our Jira instance. And then it's going to import that data that we put into Roadmunk into the left panel of structure. And if you're familiar with structure, this is all going to be, you're going to be able to follow this very easily. If you're not familiar with structure, I'll try to give you some little clues as to what's going on. Structure is a very advanced program and project management tool. And if you're a program or project manager using structure, it becomes your window and tool into Jira. And you might not even need to leave structure, because it has all of the things you need to organize your data, understand the planning, and manage your program or project. So what's happened is on the left panel here in structure, we've received all that top level strategic data from inside of Roadmunk. And on the right here, if I zoom this out a little bit, we've received some timing information from Roadmunk. So all those dates that we had in Roadmunk that were visualized on the timeline, Roadmunk creates an initial Gantt baseline inside of structure using those dates. So if I'm a project manager, maybe on Monday morning at 9 o'clock, and I just receive this roadmap, and they're saying, okay, build a plan for this roadmap and tell us whether or not it's feasible and what we can get. I'm now right in structure, which is my tool. I have the top level items that the leadership is looking for, and I have a sense of the timelines that are the desired timelines for those initiatives. So now there's been that persona switch. We've gone from sort of leadership and strategic level planning to program and project execution. So now I'm a project manager and I'm in structure, so I know exactly what I want to do. There are several ways that we could get Jira data into this plan, but I'm going to use one of the ways that I do, which is I'm going to pull up another structure to the right that just has the teams that I generally work with and the work that those teams are doing. So for example, I know I'm going to need some iOS work, and I know that they're working on a bunch of different things, but these are the issues that I'm concerned about here. So I'm just going to take those, and actually I'll use this because I know where it is in the roadmap. I'm going to take this work from iOS, and I'm just going to drop it right in my structure. And you'll see that what structure is doing right away is giving me some status and progress information right up through the strategic level items that were brought in from Roadmunk. So I'm already starting to get a little bit of information on how we're doing. I can tree these out and see the work that's involved at the story level and get a sense of how the team is breaking this work down. I can take it and reorganize it if I want, and so forth. So I've got some iOS work in there. I know also I'm going to need some Android work. So I'm going to go over here and grab a little bit of that, and drop it into my plan. Let's tree that out as well. And then I want to call out a couple things that just happened without me really having to think about it. One is I just included work from 2 different projects in my plan and didn't have to think about how to do that. It was completely a business case for me to decide that that work was needed, and I just added it to the plan, and structure does the right thing. The other thing that happened was I just added 2 different ticket hierarchy types. So for example, iOS might be a Scrum team and they work with epics and stories, but Android might be in a safe environment. So they have safe epics and features and Agile epics and stories, and they're actually using subtasks as well. So here I have a very long ticket hierarchy. And again, structure is doing the right thing in the same hierarchy. So structure is extremely flexible in that it's not going to limit you in how you organize your data or how you set the structure on your data. It's just going to break it down correctly, and it's going to start rolling up status and doing the right things with that data. So here I have some of my data coming in. This is great, but in structure, I have the ability to add in a bunch of visualizations for this. So I'll add in like the assignee field and get that information. I wouldn't mind seeing what the estimate is on that work. So I can just start adding in these columns to start to flesh out the status of this project. I'll add in the workflow status as well. So this is great. It's probably like, 11, 12 o'clock. I've got some data into the strategic plan. I'm starting to get a sense of where we're at with this, who's involved, and all of that. But leadership is still looking for a date. They want to know, are these things achievable on the timelines that we've set? So I have the data now, but I need to start talking about time. So let's pull up structure Gantt, which is an integrated Gantt that works directly with structure. And we can start to see how the work here is laid out on a Gantt and how it is interacting with the timelines that have been set in the original baseline that came over from Roadmunk. So for example, this biometrics authentication module, if we look right now, we can hover over that baseline and see that it's about 2 weeks late, given the current plan as it's laid out in Jira. Now, as a project manager, I can do some work with the teams to try to close that gap and potentially move some capacity around and so forth to try to close that. And I'll show you how we eventually synchronize the actual plan that's likely to occur with the expectations in Roadmunk. But first, let me segue you into the second major integration that we've done. So what I just showed you was the Roadmunk to structure integration. And I hope that you see that that really was seamless. There wasn't really anything that I needed to know in order to make that happen. And we're working with the exact same data now in Roadmunk and structure. So the second piece is I want to start talking about capacity. So I'm going to go into Gantt and I'm going to say, hey, I want to use Tempo Planner to do my capacity planning because I want centralized organization-wide capacity. So traditionally, structured Gantt has worked on a per Gantt basis, meaning if you have a project manager working with structured Gantt and another one working with a different Gantt, and they start doing resource planning, that resource planning isn't shared across the Gantts. But by enabling Tempo Planner to be used as the central capacity management resource, now capacity allocations that I make in one structure will be seen and shared across all structures. And we can now coordinate our planning across all of the structures in use. So I'll go ahead and save that. And we'll start to see some information coming in from Planner down here. I apologize for the pessimistic view. This is demo data, and we've been doing a lot of demos. So there's a lot of information in there. You'll see if you're a structure user, you'll see a couple new things here. We've got the little tag indicating that this is data being pulled in by Tempo. We have our little Tempo toggle here, so you can toggle back to traditional Gantt if you want, in which case Gantt is going to pull locally from this particular Gantt resource allocation pool. If you click it, you'll get the planner. You can actually toggle between them. So there's that flexibility to get sort of traditional Gantt planning as well. The other thing you'll notice over at the resource side is that I have a little planner icon here. So I can click on this icon and go directly into Planner and see that person's planner resourcing. So this will include all of the work that I'm doing across the organization, potentially for other projects and so forth. And I can make changes here that will also be picked up in structure. All right. So let me actually, so here we have the plan. There are definitely some scheduling problems here. So I'm going to add another column here. Let's look at, have structure tell us where there are scheduling errors. So here we can see that there are some scheduling errors that need to be fixed. And I can see right away that this problem is a dependency problem. This work requires this work, but they're being done simultaneously. So I can click that. And I can get some sort of, I can get automatic resolution on it if I want. There'll be some suggestions. I can also just, because I can visually see this one, drag it. And we'll see Christina's work being dragged here. And that is actually being stored in Planner. So if there's another structure somewhere and another project manager looking at that same ticket, they will see the work being moved. Additionally, if they even don't have that ticket in their structure, they'll at least see that Christina is booked for that time, meaning they will be able to resolve cross-project dependencies. All right, let me check on time here. Great. So here we have, so we're starting to get this plan together. We've got the original baseline dates that leadership wanted to see, and we've got the plan as it's coming together. I could spend some time on this, making it a little prettier, but we're just going to use it as is and say, hey, the expectations that leadership wanted are way off, and we're going to need to resync around a different scheduling for these items. Now, this is great because we've done all this work inside of Jira, and we can try to hit these dates, and we can do a lot of movement while protecting the strategic level Roadmunk visualizations from all of that activity inside of Jira until there's some sort of agreement. And this is a tool for me now to use as a project manager to get alignment between leadership and management and the teams on what's going to be possible and what's acceptable and the kinds of prioritizations that we need to make. So let's just say that we've done all that work. And this is actually the plan that we're going to go with. So what I'm going to do as a project manager now, once I've got all this agreement, is I'm going to create a new baseline inside of Gantt. So this is the new plan. We'll go ahead and create that, and we'll see what Gantt did is snapped a new baseline to the current reality of the plan. And I can always go back and take a look at the previous baselines to sort of see how the plan has changed over time. But now we've got this new plan, and now Roadmunk is going to sync using that new baseline to the agreed upon plan inside of Jira. So let's go back to Roadmunk and make that happen. So I'm going to go to the Roadmunk integration menu, and I've got a little refresh now option because we have the integration already. So I'm going to click refresh, and that's going to take a moment. This is going to do this in the background with a little spinner. Yeah, there it goes. And what we'll see is the items on the timeline snap to the new dates that were set with the new baseline in structure. So this is the way strategic level timing information is moved from structure back into the strategic layer to be visualized by leadership. So here we have those timelines. It's not particularly pretty. A big miss on the planning side for us this time, but hopefully in a real world situation, the data would match better. So here we have the first retrieval of information from inside of Jira, and you'll notice it's business level information. It's strategic level dates matching the execution dates inside of Jira. Another bit of information we can get out of Jira through structure is the progress that structure calculates for the items inside of Jira. So what I can do that by clicking on Roadmunk's visualizations and switching it over to use structure progress. So I'll do that. And now what we've got is Roadmunk pulling structure progress data as calculated by structure into Roadmunk. So we have 100% agreement on progress status between the strategic and the execution layer. And if we go back to structure, take a look at progress, I can switch this over to percentages. Let's see. Yeah. We've got what, 40% implement secure store, somewhere around here. Implement secure storage, 40.45%, a little bit of false precision there, but it's okay. All right, so now we've got the ability to synchronize those strategic dates with Roadmunk. We've got the ability to see the progress of these items, and Roadmunk now can be used as really sort of that bi-weekly strategic level meeting that project managers have with stakeholders and leadership to review how a plan is going without having to delve into the details of structure unless there are detailed questions that require it. One of the weaknesses of structure has been it's not really boardroom ready presentations. It's highly technical visualizations. So Roadmunk really brings this very clean and sleek way to represent exactly what's going on inside of a structure for higher level communications within the organization. And I can create a link to this roadmap and share it broadly within the organization without requiring any sort of additional licensing inside of Roadmunk, meaning Roadmunk can be the central communicator for strategy throughout the organization. All right, so we have now the plan in place. We've synced it with leadership. We've got things going from strategy to execution all the way down to the teams. This is great, but I want to start getting some additional information out of this data that I've put together. So, for example, I might want to set up a dashboard to represent this data visually to the organization. So let's drop over to dashboards. And here I have set up a dashboard using custom charts with a few different widgets. Right now, I have it charting my all teams structure, but I'm going to go in and show you how you can now use structure as a data source to inform all of these gadgets. So let's go edit this dashboard. And let's configure this custom chart simple search. So with custom charts, when you're building a dashboard, you can set up a simple search gadget to manage your data, meaning you can pull data in the simple search gadget, and then you can do all kinds of filtering and so forth. And then you can connect the charts to that simple search gadget, and then you can play with the data that those charts are visualizing from a central place. So that's what I've done here. And if we look at the data source options for this simple search, we can see it has the typical Jira stuff like a project or a saved filter or a custom JQL, or now we can select structures. So here we have, it's visualizing my teams, but instead I want it to visualize the structure that we were just looking at. And that structure is at the top because I just came from that structure. So let's go ahead and visualize that structure instead and save that off. And we'll see now we've got some nice visualizations for that structure. So here are issues by assignee. We can see who's doing what kind of work in the project. We've got issues broken out by status. We've got another way of visualizing issues by status here. And then we've got a time in status chart for us, denoting where issues are spending most of their time. So we can see, for example, I've got 3 items in done. If we went back to this structure, we went back to our structure. And let's say that we completed another item. So let's go ahead and move that to done. And go refresh this. I think we can just refresh that one component. Yep. So this is tracking that structure. And what I love about this is that it doesn't require the knowledge of JQL. It doesn't require saved filters, which frankly aren't managed all that well. It's a long list of stuff and generally have like copy of, important filter and so forth. So it can get a little out of hand. What I love about using structure is that it's a highly curated data set, meaning you've got eyes on it every day, and the person managing that data cares about that data and is ensuring that that data is correct. So by using structure as the data source for these other products, they're also guaranteed to benefit from that high level of curation. So, all right, we had our structure. We've now got it piped to a dashboard that will be showing real time what's going on inside of that structure. Now I want to get some costing information so I can report on the spend across this project. So let's hop over to Tempo Cost Tracker. And let's create a new project. This is my FinTech project. I'm going to select the scope where to pull the scope from. So here, of course, is the traditional Jira filter option, which I can select that. But now I have this nice structure option. There's the last structure I was looking at. It's the one we want. I'll set a default hourly rate to make things simple. And let's go ahead and create that project, cost tracker project. And there we go. So now we've got some spend and burn information. If I wanted to go into configuration and set a budget, let's go do that. And go back to our overview. Now we've got our budget line and we can see what our spend is across that budget line. We can look at the scope and see what per ticket costs are being accumulated. We can take a look at the per team costs and so forth and so forth. We can track even expenses against this project. So here again, now I've got Roadmunk with a strategic plan going directly to structure, and they're in 100% agreement. I've now got structure going to my reporting dashboard, which is in 100% agreement with structure and with the strategic plan. And here's our costing information, which again is in 100% agreement with all of the other visualizations and products that we're using to track this initiative. Okay, that actually covers the very quick overview of the integrations that we've been working on and how they come together to supply an SPM level of capability for the organization. So if you're using any of these products, you can now bring them together to solve larger problems within the organization. And if you're looking at, for example, if you're a structure user and you've been looking for getting those visualizations, which I come from the structure acquisition, so I know that that was one of the top requests that structure users were asking us for, is the ability to report on the data that they were managing. You now have a custom charts option where you can plug your structure directly into that product and get those visualizations. And this is true for the other products in the Tempo portfolio. So with that, I think we can transition into questions.
Amazing. Thank you, Jeremy. I'm going to give you a bit of a break and answer the first question. So we got one question around purchasing. So in terms of when looking at a solution like this, do you as a customer need to purchase the product separately, or would you be offered some kind of bundle or package? On the Tempo side, our biggest concern and our biggest goal is to make buying Tempo products as easy as possible for you. So we're willing to discuss both scenarios and figure out what works best for your business. If that is one of your concerns or one of your questions, please reach out to us directly. Our slide deck that we're going to share with you in our post-webinar email will include an email that you can communicate any kind of concerns or questions to. And then we'll connect you to one of our sales team members. They'll walk you through both options and figure out what works best for you. So definitely a great question. Thank you for asking it. And hopefully that provides an answer. If you're ready for it, Jeremy, we've got a bunch of amazing questions that I'm going to throw your way.
Perfect.
I'm going to start with two similar questions. One is, how is Roadmunk differentiating from Jira Product Management? And another also asking, how is Roadmunk different from Advanced Roadmaps by Jira?
How is Roadmunk different from Advanced Roadmaps?
Yes.
Right. So I want to start by just saying Roadmunk benefits from not being inside the Atlassian ecosystem. It is a product that was built from the ground up to make developing these kinds of roadmaps and visualizations very easy. So there is not a lot of overhead to get started. You can just add some items, add some dates, and start getting these great visualizations right away. There just isn't a technical lift or really a configuration lift to make all this happen. So one of Roadmunk's differentiators is that it is built from the ground up for the problem that it's solving, which is strategic level direction. Whereas Atlassian Product Discovery was added to an existing highly technical product to solve its sort of upward progression within the organization. And I'm not saying it's a bad product or anything like that. It's just a different lineage and a different history for where they had to start and the kinds of challenges they were going to have in terms of the ease of use and the kinds of visualizations that they were going to be allowed to do. So Roadmunk has a very powerful visualization engine. You can create all different kinds of representations of the data to really make them easy to consume when you're talking at a very high level within the organization.
Perfect. Another question I see here. One more thing related to Jira Product Discovery. One of the flaws of the tool compared to competitors is the difficulty to get insights in. Is it something you can show?
It's difficult in product discovery to get insights in.
Yes.
I guess I'm not sure what is meant by insights.
Let's see if Jonathan, maybe you want to send in a clarification to that question. I can move on to another one. Let's see. In Tempo Cost Tracker, how to determine the remaining time left on a project. It's not synced with Tempo Planner, but looks like to be synced with the estimated time of the project in Tempo Tracker. Also a very large combination. Maybe you can go back to the cost tracker window that we had open. And the question again is around how to determine time left on a project.
Right. Time left on a project, you would be looking at a different tool. You'd be looking at either structure or potentially planner, but most likely structure, because it's going to have the focus data that you care about for that roadmap. Structure, so there is some overlap between the tools and capabilities, but we're really focusing on structure as the front end tool to manage the strategic projects, and planner is now sort of the back end tool for managing organization-wide capacity, and Cost Tracker is the background tool for managing organization-wide capacity, but also being able to plug those structures in and subset that to a specific initiative that you're working on. But you wouldn't go to Cost Tracker to get timing information. You'd go to structure to get that information, or Roadmunk to get the strategic level expectations for the project.
Thank you. Another question, I see how we can use that plan functionality to communicate base case, worst case, best case scenarios. What is the best practice to export this to a board which doesn't have access to the tool? Again, some of these questions are out of context because they come in as you present, but I think it's about Roadmunk, yes.
Yeah, well, you can do this on either Roadmunk or Structure. There is an export option, bunch of different ways that you can do it to send an actual file, but you can also generate a public link that you can then share with them, so they'll get live access to Roadmunk without requiring licensing or any sort of access to Jira or any of your systems. You can control access for that link. You can control, it has additional filtering. So if you want to share a link for a broadly applicable roadmap, but then do additional filtering for the public link, it allows you to do that as well. So for example, with Tempo, we have our public roadmap being served up by Roadmunk, but we do have a couple additional filters on it to take out some of the internal projects that we're working on.
Okay, amazing. Another question that we got is, can you go from Structure to Roadmunk instead of Roadmunk to Structure?
Yeah, right. So there is a path for that. I showed you the easiest case to show, which is the top down. We start with the data at the abstract, move it into the more concrete inside of Structure, and so forth. So this is a top down scenario, but I'll just sort of quickly show the bottom up scenario. Like I've got an existing structure and I want to start visualizing it inside of Roadmunk. So to do that, I'm going to go and create a new roadmap. Let's just call this from Structure. And what I'm going to do is I have an empty roadmap now. I'm just going to integrate this right now with Structure. So I'm going to set up a Structure integration because I want to go get that structure data. So here we go here. Let's put it in the same instance, leave it public, and let's go. Actually, I'll show an additional thing. So I said that there were multiple ways to get data from Jira into the roadmap. I used the drag and drop method, which is a popular method with Structure, but we also have an automated way to get that in there. So I'll show that this time, provided I have a structure that's going to let me do it. Let me take a look. So we'll go to our structure. Here's our structure from Roadmunk on the left, and I'm going to go pull up a structure that I want to represent. Well, here's something called my generator project. Let's see what this is. Yeah. Oh, that's big. That'll do though. All right. So here I have the structure that I want to represent inside of Roadmunk. What I'm going to do, rather than dragging this over, I'm going to show the generators that are actually generating this structure. So by using generators, there's an automation involved. So as data changes inside of Jira, tickets will flow in and out as appropriate for this structure. So I'm going to go ahead and select these generators, and I'm just going to drag them over into the Roadmunk connected structure. So the reason we do this way, like when Roadmunk creates a structure, it actually does a few things to the structure that make it not a normal structure. So for example, I didn't mention this, but we have actually in the structure a link back to the roadmap that this structure is integrated with. So if you have an existing roadmap, we really don't want to potentially put you in a situation where you've modified that roadmap in some way. It's got important data in it, and now you can't undo it. So we just say, hey, just move that data over into the Roadmunk connected structure, and if you like what you see, you can do whatever you want with that old structure. You can archive it, delete it, whatever. So this is just a little bit of a safety for protecting existing. Oh, I've got duplicates in there. Let me see. Let me see again here. See this. Yeah. All right. So I'll explain what happened there once we get this integrated into Roadmunk. So here's one where I've just got fewer items, but it'll work nonetheless. So this is existing data inside of Jira, inside of a structure that's connected to that's using generators to pull this data in. So I'm going to go back to Roadmunk now, and I'm going to sync it. And what it's going to do is just pull whatever data we have in structure back into the roadmap, and then I'll be able to start visualizing this inside of Roadmunk. Take a minute. So yeah, what happened was that that other roadmap that I had some duplicates at the top level, which Roadmunk will not represent duplicate data, but structure will happily represent duplicate data. We do have that constraint when going from structure's top two levels to Roadmunk, because Roadmunk, we don't want a duplicate capability inside of Roadmunk, but structure's flexibility needs to be constrained a little bit in order to make sure that that agreement is 100%. All right, so we see we have two top level items here. We've got two top level items inside of Roadmunk. If I was able to do that other roadmap, it'd be a little more interesting. But that's the bottom up approach. Create an empty integration, move the data you want over, pull it up into Roadmunk.
Perfect. Thank you, Jeremy.
Yep.
We got a clarification from Jonathan's original question. I'm going to repeat his original question and then add that little part. One more thing related to Jira product discovery. One of the flaws of the tool compared to competitors is the difficulty to get insights in. Is this something you can show? And by insights, we mean feedback items coming from our user researchers, sales, our product analytics tools, support team, or ideas coming from surveys, basically input from third parties that allow us to find or validate product decisions.
Yeah, perfect. So let me go here. And so here, so the idea management is capabilities of Roadmunk. There's actually a lot here. So I'm going to try to focus in. I've got my inbox, but I can set up what's called portals, which are public URLs that I can share. Let's just actually go to this portal. So for example, I've got some questions here that I've set up, custom fields and so forth. I can share this out to the world and have this like in an email or have it on our website or whatever, and have this be a mechanism where customers or partners or whoever can flow information into our idea portal. And then I can take that information and organize it into, there's a review and process and so forth, and a categorization. I can set up product areas in here and turn them on and off if they've got portals and so forth. Set up people responsible for managing those, and then flow all that into the prioritization matrix and make decisions based on whatever sort of criteria you want to use to rank these ideas. So yes, Roadmunk can reach the unlicensed masses, collect feedback, flow it into that sort of pre-strategic storage of ideas and possibilities, and then start to organize it into what are the opportunities that we want to try to take advantage of, get it into a roadmap, get it into Jira, and flow it into the other products. So I hope that answers that question. If not, please follow up with us. This is a big section of Roadmunk, and I could probably spend an hour on this as well.
Amazing. Thank you, Jeremy. Can you go back to the slides? I think that's all the time we have for questions. We have about 2 minutes left. The last slide that we've got for you today just has a couple more resources that you can learn a little bit more about these solutions that we shared. So obviously, like Jeremy just mentioned, this is a huge topic. All these integrations you can spend a lot of time on and dive much deeper into the details. So that is something to look forward to. We'll continuously offer these webinars to more specific audiences on more specific integrations and solutions. So keep an eye on our events page. Thank you everyone for attending and all the amazing questions. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you, Jeremy, and thank you, Christina, for all the answers.
Thanks, folks. Thanks, Dua.